everyone, it's Diane Mireles with Visions and Traditions Realty on our Tuesday Tidbits, or we could call this Talk About It Tuesday. I like that. I don't know if y'all are ever on Facebook, but there's a Facebook page that's called the Mexican Word of the Day, and I love that. It makes me giggle every time I read that. So if you ever get a chance, pull that up. You'll get a big kick out of it. Hey David, how are you today? Missed you last week, but glad you could chime in today. Okay, so today we're going to talk kind of about economics. And first thing I want to go ahead and bring to your attention is I actually have a magazine that I send out, and now have a digital version of this magazine, and it's pretty darn cool. It's got a lot of good information in it, and even has some recipes, which I'm always into cooking. But if you're interested, if you would like a copy of the magazine in a digital format, or even a hard copy of it, just type in your email address or wherever you would like it sent to, say digital or hard, and we will be sure we put you on the list. It's a nice piece of information, and it kind of continues to give a variety of subjects to everyone. And I can't see real far, I can't see who else. Oh, Walter, good morning, how are you? Okay, so now Walter is one of my biggest critics. So he will be, I'm sure, voicing his opinion about everything. Now Walter, David has tuned in here. David has known me since I was in grade school, so don't be talking any smack about me, because David will reach out and punch you. I'm just kidding. Walter's like my brother. Anyway, did want to talk to you today a little bit about finances and the economics, and because I find this really interesting when it comes into the home sales or the home market, the home buying, the home selling, and all of that. And because it's so big, because it's such a fireball, and then everything is so closely intertwined, and yet it isn't. So it's nice to kind of stay on top of some of this stuff. And basically, we want to know, should we be buying a house in 2019? Who knows? That's gonna be something you're gonna have to determine, or that you have grandkids or kids that you want to talk to about it, or just over coffee with friends. So anyway, what we do know is that in 2018, the housing market actually cooled a little bit. And the reason being is because with the economy, things were a little bit shaky. People got nervous. They were afraid to make moves, afraid to make any huge commitments to anything. And I think that we're going to see, or from what the economists from different large organizations are saying, is that they feel like 2019 is going to be a little bit of a tough year as well. And it's weird because it kind of goes back and forth. It's like being on a seesaw or a teeter-totter. You just, one week it's this, one week it's that, or from day to day, hour to hour. But the good thing is that our economy has got some growth. So by the economy having some growth, the rising employment opportunities should be able to help keep the housing market on key. Again, it's not going to be as strong as what it was in the past, but it's there. I mean, everybody wants to live in a house. So, and that's the goal. I mean, that's kind of the American dream, to grow up, go to school, grow up, go to college, get a great job, and then go out and buy a house and start a family, or start a family and buy a house, whichever one you want to do first. But anyhow, just over the past year, what we have seen is that the home builders like Lennar, D.R. Horton, Meritage actually had a little bit of a slump in their building process. Now, granted, I'm not talking about just the Houston area. This is kind of a nationwide comment that I'm making. So, and the reason that they had the slump was because building costs had gone up, interest rates were going up, and people got a little bit nervous as to what they wanted to do. Now, what we also do know is that there is a huge market for that entry-level home, which doesn't really seem to be out there anymore. The entry-level home anymore is, you're lucky if you can get one at $250,000. Typically, I'm seeing them at around $300,000. And those of you from other areas, I'd love for you to chime in and tell me what the entry-level pricing is in your area. Now, Chief economist Danielle Hale, who is with Realtor.com, feels like there's going to be some challenges to the potential home buyers and home sellers. And yes, I think that no matter what market you're in, you're going to have some challenges. It just depends on how you look at those challenges, how you face those challenges, and are you willing to grab them by the throat and choke them a little bit. And that's what we have to do. We have to realize, okay, so we see what's going on in the economy. We see that things are getting politically a little bit heated, and it's been heated over the past couple of years, and it seems to be either it's getting more and more heated, or I'm getting older and just more sensitive to the hot flashes. Just kidding. Walter, no comment from you. Okay, so we also do know that buyers are going to have a little bit more inventory to choose from. What we're going to see, what we've seen in the past is that the home sellers were actually in the position, in the demanding position, where they would put their house on the market and would list it on the high end of the range, and then end up getting multiple offers. And so 2016, 2017, 2018, these home sellers are telling this to their neighbors, and of course the people who are buying the houses are talking to their neighbors and telling their neighbors what they had to go through in order to purchase the house. So the 2019 home seller needs to be aware that this is not going to be the way 2019 is going to pan out. The inventory, we're into more of a balanced type year. The interest rates are not expected to spike. They are expected to maintain. You may see a little bit of movement there, a little bit of push up, and the housing values may push up just a little bit. So we're not going to see anything really detrimental to the housing market, or now that I'm speaking of for this area in general. We may see, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing, where people talk about months of inventory of properties on the market. For us in this area, when we had 3 months of inventory, we kind of considered that a lot of inventory. When somebody talked about having 6 months of inventory, we considered that an oversupply of houses. Right now, in the price range of maybe 500,000 plus, we're going to have a little bit of an overage of houses to select from, because that's where the new home builders are building. So anything under 250 definitely is going to be prime. That doesn't mean that you can actually go out there and bump the price of the house up, because value is what value is, bottom line. And the value is going to have to do again with the interest rates. So everything has to be kind of on a level playing field, or at least that's what they're hoping for this year, is the level playing field. They're also saying, again, like we've talked in the past, 3 weeks, regarding the millennials. The analysts, the economists are saying that, of course, the millennials are the hugest number of buyers out there for the housing market. And they call them the generational cohort in boosting the demand for entry-level homes. So they are the millennials are the biggest force of home buyers out there, but realize that the millennials are paying back their school loans, and they're already in debt. So they're wanting more of an entry-level price home. And what I find interesting is I've got a son who's living up in the Boston area and opening up a business in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and was sending me information on the housing there. And I mean, it's unbelievable. They're talking $300 a square foot for a condo. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you hear about out in California. So I haven't really investigated into that area, but in most areas around most larger cities, you're looking at, in the suburbs, okay, when you get into the suburbia around Houston, Dallas, New Orleans and all of those places, all the main cities. Go into the suburbs and you're looking at $100 to $150 a square foot on the resale market. Also, we want to talk about, the Mortgage Bankers Association, the chief economist, Mike Frantantoni, he thinks that it's going to be quite positive over the next 12 months regarding the mortgage industry. And he feels like we have a strong job market coming up. So I'm hoping that he's right. And if that's the case, then the millennials will be able to step in and purchase homes. But I still think that we have to be cautious about price ranging. And I know I've talked to a friend of mine who's actually bought some land, and she's talking about becoming a developer. And I think it would be absolutely awesome if she did that, because she's wanting to develop an area and put houses on there that are a price range, that are going to be in that lower price range, that under 250 range, that will appeal to first-time home buyers, that will appeal to that family either wanting to start their family and they'll be moving up into bigger, or that family that's going to be scaling down. They do feel like with the environment showing that the rates are going to be steadying a little bit, that this should help people be more comfortable in reaching out to lenders and reaching out wanting to go ahead and take the next step to purchase a house. I'm trying to see who that is. I can't see that from the contacts. Anyway, whoever joined us, hi, how are you? The Federal Reserve, we know at the end of the year, was increasing rates. And I think that, again, from everything that the different economists and analysts are saying, we're still going to see small increases, but we're going to see it level. We're going to see it to where it's not going to make anybody want to go, oh my God, what have I done? Now, what we also know is that buying a home is one of the biggest, most important financial decisions in a person's life, in a family's life, in a couple's life. Just think about it. You buy a $100,000 house. 30 years later, you've invested $250,000, because that's about what the interest rate's going to cause you to pay it back. So it is a huge financial decision, and by that decision, the decision to buy is an individual circumstance. Because I'm also talking to some of the millennials out there, and they're telling me that they would prefer to lease. I've always been kind of against, like, if you can lease or you can buy, you might want to go to the buy, because at least you've got something to show for your money. But I also see their line of thinking and how they're working their numbers. So that being said, we get into the lease market and how people, after Hurricane Harvey, and we're going to talk about this later, have bought houses and are leasing them out, and how all that comes into play with everything. So the one thing with the millennials in leasing is their mindset, for the most part, is that leasing, they don't have to be responsible for the property. They just have to pay the note, or they just have to pay their rent. Well, and that's true. Now, if you are thinking about purchasing a home, you definitely want to keep your debt-to-income ratio within reason. So typically, mortgage companies are looking at a 43% on the debt side. You don't want to, when it gets up there to 50-50 to 60-40, they're not going to lend to you. They're going to want you to pay off some debt for sure. And let's see. This is kind of interesting too. The home price to rent ratio compares the value of a home versus what it could rent for over a year. Okay, so back on the rental portion of this. If you are thinking that renting may be a better way for you to go, you may want to run the numbers and see what you're going to be spending in rent, see where that's going to be putting you at the end of the year, And then also look at the housing market, the buying market, and the selling market, and see if you can predict where there's going to be any increase in values. Because basically, if you purchase real estate and values stay the same and you go to sell, you've pretty much gotten your investment back. So you've lived for free versus paying somebody else that monthly rent and paying that house off for them. And I can't stress to you enough, you always want to hire a trusted real estate agent. You want somebody that you can talk to. You want somebody that you know is concerned about you, your financial investments, your needs, and that they're in it for the long haul. Buying and selling a house isn't just something that takes 45 days or 60 days or 3 months while you're looking. It's forever. And you do not forget that real estate agent that helped walk you through that process, nor do you forget your lender that helped you through that process. So you always want to be sure that the people in your pocket are people that you trust, that you're comfortable with. And you may want to get out and talk to them first. You may want to interview with them first and get that person knowing who's going to be on your side for you, who's going to have your back during the transaction. Always remember that when it does come time for house hunting, whether leasing or buying, but especially buying, you want to be sure that you do your budgeting. Sit down, make a list. I mean, we all say that we do it. Okay, so if you're like me, I've got a general idea in my head. My husband thinks I'm terrible because I don't ever balance my checkbook. I didn't say that out loud. Oops. Retract. So anyway, no, it's kind of funny, but truthfully, you got to have a budget in mind. You have to know where you're going to be. And when you're going to buy a home, you have to be sure that you include a buffer so that if your air conditioner goes out, or if the washing machine goes out, or the dishwasher, or whatever, if it goes out, that you've got the money set aside to replace it. Some people say, oh, well, we'll just get a home warranty and that'll cover it. Don't count on that, because remember, home warranties do not cover pre-existing defaults, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so when doing a budget, you want to be sure that it covers your monthly note. You want to be sure it covers your escrow cost, and you want to be sure it covers any expected upgrades. You know, you've gone through this house and you're like, oh wow, that's beautiful, except I don't like that color paint. So paint's cheap, yeah, but it's still going to cost you a couple $100 to go out there and buy some paint and paint. Now, if you hire somebody, it's going to cost you a couple $1,000s to do that. So you want to be sure that you've got that money set aside so that you can do what you want to do to personalize the property for yourself. Be sure your budget is in place before you make the commitment, before you sign on any dotted lines. Be sure that budget is in place. And in all honesty, the real estate agent your real estate agent and your mortgage lender can actually sit down with you and help put that in place for you and see where your comfort level is. Okay, so the rest of it, next week we're going to discuss more about financing and financials regarding buying a home and selling a home, and the economists. I love tapping into what the economists are saying, and I love hearing how their predictions, and I would love to get my hands on one of their crystal balls actually, and then I'd go buy a lotto ticket, but oh well. Anyhow, also want to go ahead and give you a little tidbit of gossip here. We have in Houston, we are number 3 when it comes to rent decreases. So if you're in this, I'm talking to you about buying a house, and now I'm going to tell you about rent decreases in Houston. Not good. My associates are probably going to start throwing dead fish at my office or something. Walter, don't you dare. So just to let you know though, Houston is one of the top 3 cities, and that is offering decreases in rent. Because what happened is that as a result of Harvey, the houses that were damaged or destroyed and that have been fixed up are now being leased out. And then of course they built more apartments. So as a result of Harvey, there are a whole lot more rentals out there available. And that is an opportunity for somebody to come in and get something at a much more reasonable price. Keep that in the back of your mind. That might be something during the interim you get with your real estate agent, get with your lender, and sit down and have one of those come to Jesus meetings and look at your finances and see, okay, this is where I want to be. What's it going to take to get there? And you may have to rent for a little while. And if that's the case, well, by golly, come on down. Come on to Houston. We got some good prices here. Okay, folks, I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today. Next week, we're going to get into some more of the economics. And again, I want to just reiterate to you the American Lifestyle magazine. If you would like a digital copy of it, give us your email address. And if you would like a hard copy of it, send us your home address or wherever you would like the magazine sent to. It really is kind of a cool magazine, and it's got some good pointers. I look forward to seeing all of you next week. And just want to say hello to Melanie Hinsdale, who has graciously offered to head up a Legal 1 class. I had to stop and think, we've got them spaced out. On April 11th, we're going to do a Legal 1 class over at Excel Title, and she has graciously volunteered the use of her facility. And we do have some sponsors stepping in to help out with that. And then we'll be doing a Legal 2 class, and then we're going to do a broker responsibility class over there. So keep your eyes and ears open for posts on that. And want to also say hello to the Pattersons, Andy and Leanne with Cultivate, my favorite foodies. And I guess I'm trying to think if there's anybody else we need to say hello to. Was that? No, that's it for right now. Well, if we missed you, let me know and I will get you on the list for next week. Anyway, thanks so much for joining in. I hope that you found this episode informative and look forward to our next one. See you next week.